Okay everybody, today we're going to do update 88 and I'm going to show you what I've done over here as far as painting and so forth. It's going to be short, and I've said short before, but I always mean short, but I don't know why I always say short. This is what makes it long, is saying it's short. But anyways, it's going to be a short video on what I've accomplished over here, and that's about it. So I would suggest that we get into it. Okay guys, we're going to start here simply because this is the least dramatic part. But I'm going to go over here and show you something. I have dulled all of this down, as you may or may not be able to see from the original colors that it was. And basically that was done with just washing some darker, not real dark, but darker brown, watered down dark brown over the top of it, and then just using water on it to get it to the shade I wanted it to be. And I think it's lightened it up, or darkened it up actually, considerably. And now I'm going to show you something here. Since I'm going to have the bridge over here, over the track over here, I thought having a dirt road here was kind of ridiculous. So I painted a paved road there that goes up and back over those tracks in the background there. That lends some credence to having a paved road over here, even though it won't be visible there. It does give you the sense that there's a reason for the pavement being there. I'm going to move the camera. I don't like this angle. I'm going to move the camera a little bit and show you what I've done with the rest of it. Okay, so we're going to start right here, and I'm going to try and point this stuff out. But the joint in the two backdrops was right there. And now you can see that I've kind of painted that in a little bit there to get them to blend together better. Had to take a razor blade and cut the very top up there to make them match each other. You can see that I painted black on the edge of my my support for my shelf there, which I had accidentally hit with the blue when I was doing the backdrop. The other thing you will notice is there's what appears to be way off in the distance there, some kind of bridge over this canyon that comes down through here and then empties out into the plain there and goes across the plain. I added that in. As you can see, I've blotted out all of the saguaro cactus, and as I said, I didn't like them. I don't like them there because there aren't any here. So basically, those were painted out using a mixture of paint that I just eyeballed together to get the colors, or close to the colors that were already there, and just blotted it on there. And excuse me for bending down, but this is this is what I used to blot that stuff in. And what I do is I take a big piece of this and tear it into pieces about this size. Then I use different sides of it and angles of it in the different green colors to go back and blot in the spots of green, which basically ties all the brown that I have put over everything back together to the foreground scenery that is and was green. And for the most part, it looks pretty good. There was a couple of cheats I had to do. There's a lot of green right in here, so it kind of looks like there's some trees off in the distance there. But there was some really big saguaro cactus that stuck up there, and I didn't want to have to mess around mixing more and more colors to try and get it to blend to the background. But I think it looks okay. By the time I put the bridge in there and lift this foam up about I'm going to have to take that up about an inch or maybe 3/4 of an inch there. And once I get that done, it'll take off some of the bottom of this right here. And then the bridge starts to go up here and over the track. And that will kind of detract from some of that a little bit. And then of course most of that opening there you won't see. Now I'm going to start going around, and I'll explain to you exactly what I did as I go around. You guys can see that it's not the stark bright yellow that it was before, because I used the same technique over there that I used back over there. and that is using some light brown and grayish brown to wash over the top of that and tone that yellow way, way, way down. That's what it needed. And as I said before, as I swing around here, you can see, whoops, my finger's in the wrong place, but you can see that I will have a little kind of like a mesa or something that kind of sticks up there, little outcropping of rock or something like that, that I will paint similar to those rock in the background. Those rocks back there, that's another interesting story. I used the same blotting technique with a color that was similar to the rocks, but not exactly to the rocks. So when I got done, all the cracks in the rocks were gone. So I had to go back with a darker brown color and paint all the cracks back in with a small fine brush, and just kind of touch them up and paint them back in. Then when I got done, I said, well, the cracks look good, but now there's no shadowing. So then I went back and used a little bit of a kind of a creamy gray color to do the faces of the rocks, and then they became a little more stark, and they're a different color than some of the other rock around here, which happens around here. So at that point, I went to that rock outcropping over there and did kind of a similar thing to those, and then a little less of it on this one over here, and then none of it over there on that mesa where the mine is. But as you can see, you don't see one saguaro cactus in there due to this whole blotting process. And I'm going to swing on around here, and then I'll swing you back and make you dizzy. But if I swing on around here to the corner, as I told you, the bridge will go over the track, and then the track will cross, the road will cross the track, and then the road will cross this side of the loop over here and go behind a mesa, a little mesa thing. And it won't be very high. You know, it'll only be high enough to cover what you would, which won't let you see any of the asphalt or anything. But it'll go behind a little mesa there, and then it will go to the right here. So once I start putting the taller mesa up here, you'll be able to see just a little bit of that road, about like something like that. You'll see that the road it will appear to go behind the mesa over here, and then go and curve around, and then head out into the boondocks over there and up to that mine, and then eventually over there across the mesa. So it gives some being to the fact that there's a bridge here and a road here. And I've had guys say, well, if you're going to do a bridge over one track, maybe do a bridge over both tracks. Well, first of all, I don't have two bridges. Second of all, you're supposed to get the perception that these are two different tracks. One goes one way and one goes another way. And if I swing you back, sorry for the swinging forward and backward, once I put a mesa in front of that opening and kind of taper it down to where the road crosses, you will only see a very small portion of this track that curves out that way. And you won't get the perception that it makes a loop and comes back, even though it does. You will get the perception that it goes out somewhere. It won't look like a loop, let's put it that way. Let's hope it won't look like a loop. I mean, it's always going to look like a loop because it is a loop, but we're going to try and disguise it as much as we possibly can. Now, since we're back here, I'll explain to you some things, and I think you can see them in here. It's hard to see on the screen of the camera, but nevertheless, there was a railroad track that went along the back of the boondocks out there, and when I painted over all of that to darken that up, I lost that. So I went back in with a small brush, and again, my dark brown, and painted those back in right over what had already been there, but you could barely see by the time I got done darkening all that down. And if I swing around this way a little more, and maybe I can, let me try and zoom you guys in just a little bit here. If I zoom in some, you can see that let me get in the picture here. Oh, right over here, that same track cuts across, and then I just painted a little bit of dark right there just to give the impression that there was some kind of a bridge there. You can't really make it out because it's too far off in the distance. And that track comes over here and cuts into this other track that goes off into oblivion out there, which I had lost all of that as well. So I had to come back and paint that in all the way over to here. There's some little buildings out there in the middle of nowhere. Then, as you can see, this is supposed to be resemble a paved road going out to that little bunch of buildings out there, which is probably part of a ranch house and maybe a little station stop. And that comes back this way and disappears in the foreground. It has there's not any really tie in there or anything like that. But as you can see, I don't know where I am. As you can see, I brought that all the way across here after I painted that in. Then when I did that, I had to make some little itty bitty teeny marks where the telephone poles were, and I had to go back and put every one of those in individually so that that all ties together all the way where that track goes all the way over there behind this outcropping of rocks that comes down right here, or mesa that comes down right there. So let me swing you around once more and I'll show you over here where the tunnel is going into the mountain. Okay, so there's not much that I can do about the fact that it makes a 90-degree corner down there. I mean, I could do something about it, but I'm not. But anyway, most of that's going to be covered with the tall mesa that I planned on building in the foreground out of foam, so most of that you won't see. But I have also taken out all the saguaro cactus towards the camera here. And then when I got to where the blue was over here, I just took a razor blade and cut down the backdrop, and that's just where the backdrop ends. So I have succeeded, at least I believe I have. You know, from here, I can't see any of the saguaro cactus left, and so I think my mission was successful. As I swing you guys around, you can see that the stark yellow is now gone. A couple things you may not have noticed, but I'll point them out to you, is right up there I put a smokestack on that mine, and way back there on that hill there's two little smokestacks on there, and I intend on putting some white and gray steam coming out of those, or smoke, whatever the case may be, just a little bit. Just to kind of give the impression that something is going on and that the backdrop blends to the sky. That is really the purpose of that. I'm going to put a couple more birds in, and aside from that, that's really all I got to tell you today. I just wanted to show you the stark difference between the two, and I'm going to back the camera up, and I'm going to take I'm going to pull a couple of still shots out of the last video and this video so that you can compare the two. And essentially that's going to be it for today after that happens. Okay, everybody, that's number 88, and I hope you enjoyed this little mini update, and as usual, thanks for watching.